So it is our great honor and our pleasure to introduce the Governor of the great state of New Jersey, the Honorable Chris Christie.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it, Saul, very much. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. Saul, thank you. I'd like to recognize both Saul and Debbie for their continued commitment and their leadership. It's been critical in growing and sustaining our state's bioscience, pharmaceutical, and life sciences industry. Also want to recognize a reformed government worker, my former Chief of Staff, Rich Bagger. You know, when I left the State House today, my new Chief of Staff, Kevin O'Dowd, said, "So where are you going tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to the BioNJ dinner." And he said, "Bagger." His influence still reaches into the office. It's good to see you, Chief. Thank you for being here tonight. You know, Saul and Debbie, Rich, so many of you in this audience know that these industries that are represented here tonight are a cornerstone of our economy in New Jersey. And of our efforts to try to make sure that growth and innovation in this sector will create a sustainable and a prosperous future for our citizens, good health and prosperity. New Jersey's biopharmaceutical and life sciences industries are a significant growing part of our economy, as they always have been. Today, about 126,000 people are employed in these industries in this state, and the number of employees at New Jersey biotech companies has increased 50% over the past 3 years. With those kind of assets available to us, we know what we have to do in state government. And one of the things that we decided we needed to do was to really look differently at our system of higher education in the state. And I hope you understand what I was trying to accomplish by who I selected to lead that effort. And I selected Saul Bearer, and I'm happy that he was willing to serve. And the report that he delivered to me just last week is a model for the integration of this industry and the higher education system in New Jersey, so that both systems can benefit greatly from working with each other, creating the jobs of the future for our citizens, and providing these universities with an opportunity to work with some of the most cutting-edge scientists and business people in America in this industry right here in New Jersey. So to Saul, I say thank you for your leadership in that regard very, very much. We also understand that we have to provide other types of incentives to spur innovation, explore new research opportunities, reward the risk-taking that's necessary to find that next breakthrough. The life-saving medicine, the medical device, the treatment that'll save lives, and that will provide opportunities to New Jersey citizens. That's why when I became governor, I made a commitment up front to the people of our state to step up to that challenge. Remember, we had lost 117,000 private sector jobs in the year before I became governor. 117,000 private sector jobs. And so we knew we had a challenge to face. We had the worst business climate in America. We were ranked 50th in terms of tax climate in the country. And so we had to work hard and confront our problems directly to try to make sure that the future was something different than the immediate past. And remember what we inherited from a fiscal perspective when we got into office. I have a great recollection of, about 3 or 4 weeks into the transition when Governor Corzine was telling us that the budget for 2010 that he had passed in the June of the last year was just fine. And then I brought in Bob Grady and Rich Bagger to run my budget transition. And Grady and Bagger came into my office at the transition office and said, if we don't cut $2 billion in already appropriated spending in the first month, that you're in office, we will not meet payroll in the second pay period in March. Amazing Becker got the job after that, isn't it? And coming to deliver that kind of news? Or maybe that's the reason he got the job. And so we had that deficit to deal with, and we did it without raising taxes. Because remember, in the 8 years before I became governor, taxes and fees were increased at the state level 115 times in 8 years. You know it as well as anybody. You were paying it. You were paying it through your businesses. You were paying it individually. And you're feeling the strain that was putting on your individual business and your families. So we resolved it without raising taxes. We then turned to the next fiscal year, an $11 billion budget deficit. So a 37% budget deficit, a $29 billion budget, and $11 billion deficit. What did we do? We did not, as the Democrats in the legislature demanded we do, raise income taxes again. We simply are no longer going to go into your pocket to solve our failings. And so we said we will close this budget gap by cutting spending and getting government under control. And we cut the budget by 9%, 9% not from projected growth, 9% from baseline. Every department in state government had their budget reduced in real numbers. Remember, we were still sitting at that time with the highest unemployment rate in over a quarter century at 10%, and property taxes that had gone up 70% in the last 10 years. This is the economic picture that we inherited. And we've moved now towards solving it. Through cutting spending, our budget is balanced. Private sector job growth has created 60,000 new private sector jobs since February of 2010, moving unemployment from 10% down to 9%. $38,000 new private sector jobs created in 2011 alone, making 2011 the best year of private sector job growth in New Jersey since the year 2000. Now think about that for a second. What happened between 2001 and 2010? We had nearly 9 years of Democratic domination of the legislature, of higher taxes, higher spending, more borrowing, and irresponsible fiscal management of our state's budget, ballooning growth to state spending, and the onus for that spending being put on you. During that period of time, we created the famous New Jersey millionaires tax. You know, the one that we tax anybody who makes $400,000 or over. Only in New Jersey. With New Jersey math, could we call a tax that the state legislature puts on folks or businesses that make over $400,000 a year a millionaire's tax? And so what I used to say to folks when I travel around the country is, listen, here's a reason to come to New Jersey. If you're not a millionaire, but you want to feel like one, come to New Jersey, we'll tax you like one. We had a decade of negative or stagnant job growth in the private sector. And the members of the legislature wonder why. How did this happen? Well, if you overtax and you overborrow and you overspend, people who can leave will leave. And so between 2004 and 2008, $70 billion in wealth left the state of New Jersey. That's not diminished wealth from the economic crisis. That is departed wealth that left predominantly for Pennsylvania, Delaware, North Carolina, and Florida. What do those four states all have in common that's different from us? A better tax climate. Democrats will tell you that people don't leave because of higher taxes. The people who have to pay the higher taxes don't tell you, they just leave. That's what they do. And they can't dispute the facts of that. That's what happened. But now we have a situation where private sector jobs are growing again. Why? Because we have bettered the climate in this state. because people now know, after me twice vetoing income tax increases and having those vetoes sustained, that I will not permit income taxes to be increased in this state, not on my watch. And if the Democrats do it again this year, they will get exactly the same treatment they got the last 2 years. It will be vetoed the minute they send it to me, and I will send it back to them. The days of increased taxes in this state are over under this governor. "70% property tax increases in 10 years, not anymore." Why? We put a 2% cap on property taxes. We changed the interest arbitration system to make it fairer and to have a 2% cap. And for the first time, a state in a bipartisan way reformed the pension and benefit system in this state to save our pension system $120 billion over the next 30 years. And only the most liberal, union-controlled Democrats voted against it. The people completely in the pockets of the public sector unions. Democrats, thinking Democrats, Democrats who understand fiscal responsibility, didn't vote no, they voted yes. And they bravely voted yes, against their own political interests, against the dictates of their party. The others continued to toe the line. And you see, the worst part of that is not that they were sticking it to the taxpayers, because they've been doing that for a decade. The worst part was they were sticking it to the public sector workers. Because without these changes, that pension system would have gone belly up in 7 years. 2018. Now, a lot of people said to me, well, wait a second, Governor. Why are we bothering with this? If you get 2 terms, you'll be out in 2017. Let the next guy deal with it. That's been the path of leadership before in this state. If it doesn't affect my political future, why bother? That's not why people elected me governor of New Jersey in 2009. They elected me governor because we had to deal with these issues finally, and we had to call out the people who were the protectors of the status quo. And that's what we did on pension and benefit reform, and I will always be indebted to Senator Steve Sweeney, the Senate President, and to Sheila Oliver, the Speaker of the Assembly, to have the courage to post that legislation and to vote for it. And because of that, not only will taxpayers save in total between the two systems $132 billion over 30 years, but also the teachers, the police officers, the firefighters, the other public sector workers will have a pension to collect that they're counting on. We've made the pension system more solvent. We've started to make our payments again, which had not been done for years under Democratic rule, and we're saving the taxpayers $132 billion. That's what happens when you have a governor who will lead and common sense Democrats who hop out of the pocket of the public sector unions and into the playing field on behalf of the citizens who pay the bills. I'll always be proud to have partnered with Steve Sweeney and Sheila Oliver on that legislation. So as a result, we have the lowest property tax growth that we've had in 2011 in 20 years. Net property tax growth in New Jersey was 1.7%. 1.7%. This is the same property tax problem that went up 70% in 10 years. So we're making a difference, and we're not done yet. We're going to work on things like shared services. Our health reforms are going to continue to phase in over the next 3 years and save even more money for municipalities. We're going to be able to flatten out property taxes and eventually bring them down. But the only way to do it is not to spend more money on gimmicky rebate programs. See, this is what some are advocating now in the legislature. This is what they want me to do. They want to take more money from the income tax out of your right pocket, keep most of it, and then put a small amount of it in your left pocket and call it property tax reform and make you feel like I've done you some big favor. Well, you're smarter than that. And so are the people in New Jersey, and they're tired of the gimmicks, and they're tired of the slogans. And so this is what we're proposing. We're proposing to cut income taxes this year across the board, 10% for all New Jerseyans. If you never send us the money, we can't spend it and waste it. Please take it from a friend. Don't trust us. Don't send the money in the first place. And critically important for your businesses, We provided $185 million in targeted tax cuts to create jobs and help businesses grow and prosper, including a 50% increase in the research and development credit and an expansion of the technology business tax credit program from $30 million to $60 million. And plenty of companies are taking notice of that. Bayer Pharmaceuticals announced that they selected New Jersey over New York as the site for a new corporate campus, a decision that will keep 1,000 jobs in New Jersey, move 300 more jobs here from out of state, and result in the creation of 200 new jobs. Novo Nordisk will be adding an additional 200 jobs at an average salary of $130,000 a year. To the second phase of its expansion project, Novo Nordisk is planning to grow about 10% a year. That's great news for New Jersey. And Watson Pharmaceuticals, just this Monday, announced that it will establish its Global Research and Development Center in North Brunswick that will employ approximately 50 professional and support staff. This is news that New Jersey has not seen in a decade. It is because people in this administration understand that government cannot create jobs, but it can create an atmosphere that either allows jobs to be grown or destroyed. In the last number of administrations, they have been job destroyers. In this administration, through the leadership of people like Commissioner of Labor Wirtz and the EDA CEO Karen Franzini, we are listening to business. We are working with you to deal with your concerns and turning New Jersey's business climate once again into a good place, not only to raise your families, which it's always been, but a good place to do business again. We're happy to be in partnership with you on that. Now, for all those reasons and a lot of others, promoting the life sciences sector is one of the 4 overarching goals of our state strategic plan, which was put forward by the Lieutenant Governor, to enhance the opportunities for industry growth and set the foundation for a long-term collaboration and partnership between the public and private sectors in your industry. That was not done by accident. And no matter how much he's going to claim credit for it, it wasn't just Bagger's idea. I heard that's what he was doing at the cocktail party tonight, so I wanted to dissuade that immediately. Part of it was his idea, but not all of it. That way, you're going to continue to benefit from the quality of the New Jersey workforce. At the same time, our state and communities benefit from your critical role in our economy, its growth, and what you and your employees contribute to the social fabric of New Jersey. Your businesses and your employees are philanthropists in our state. They give generously of their time and their money to dozens and dozens and dozens of charities and worthy causes across New Jersey. So sometimes we tend to speak just in cold, hard numbers. The jobs you create, the tax revenue that puts forward. But there's a human face to this too. I've had the opportunity to talk about issues like this with John Crowley, who is an example of not only what a successful businessman can be, but how that successful business career can lead to doing things for our society that gives us more faith and confidence and hope in our fellow human beings. So I'm glad to see you here, John, tonight, and I thank you for everything you contribute to our state in that way. And you are an example of this industry as a whole and what can be done and is done by your leaders and your employees. That you don't just contribute to us economically, although we're grateful for it, that you contribute to us from a moral perspective, to understand that with great success and the great wealth that comes with that at times, come great responsibilities as well to try to make your community a better place, to try to care for those who are less fortunate, to try to tend to those who are in need. This industry, not only through what you do and the medicines and innovations you create, tend to that greater societal need, through who you are as people and what you contribute to your communities, you represent that spirit as well. And so when I talk to other governors about the fact that New Jersey is still the leading state for this industry across the country, I tell them that they're not only missing out on the great revenue you help us produce and the great jobs that you give to our citizens, but they're also missing out on the spirit that comes from people who care so much about their society, their neighbors, their friends, and those people who they probably will never meet and certainly will never know, but who they help every day through individual acts of kindness. That's what we're about too in this state, and that's what this administration is about as well. So keeping your operations here, hiring students who are educated in our schools, working in partnerships with our colleges and universities in new ways that will be available because of the work that Sol and his commission did for me and our implementation of that. We're going to ensure that the next medical breakthrough, the next patent, the next big life-saving device is discovered right here in New Jersey. So, as you can imagine, I get lots of invitations to go lots of places. And never realized how much I'd be asked to do that as governor of New Jersey and now in other capacities around the country. But when this invitation came, it was an easy yes, for all the reasons that I just told you. And because at core, what we're trying to do in this administration is to return pride to our state and the people who live here. Because you know, for all too long over the last decade, New Jersey was more of a punchline on the late night talk shows and other places, right? You know, The Sopranos, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, God forbid, the Jersey Shore. And I understand over the last couple of days there's been some activity on Twitter from my friends Snooki and JWoww. They're upset with me. And they said, Snooki said, I just want to let Governor Christie know I'm not voting for him. You see, this further reinforces my concern about these people. She lives in New York. She can't vote for me. And so while I'm sorry Snooki's feelings are hurt, the fact of the matter is, I remind people all the time, these kids in that show, they're New Yorkers. They're from Staten Island and Poughkeepsie, right? And they parachute these people into the Jersey Shore and try to make America believe that these are New Jersey kids. I tell Cuomo all the time, you can have them back. You will not be shocked to know he has not sent a car yet for Snooki or JWoww or the situation. But because of things like this, and because of the corruption that existed in our state for so long, in every corner of the state, that I spent 7 years of my life trying to stamp out. New Jersey was talked more about on the late night talk shows and Comedy Central. But what's happened in the last 2 years? New Jersey's now talked about more on the Sunday talk shows and the evening news than we are in those other programs. Because something's happening here. And America can see it and feel it and notice it. And this is what it is. It's a group of tough and gritty people picking themselves up out of the hole that was dug for them by irresponsible leadership, by previous administrations, and saying, we're not going to accept this anymore. That we're not going to take on the small issues. That we're not going to use politics as a distraction, but as a tool to improve our society. That we're going to do the tough things and we're going to grit our teeth and bear them because we want this state to be a place where our children and grandchildren not only will be able to afford to live, but will want to live. A place they'll be proud to call home. That's what we're trying to do. Our leadership in this state is meant to tell America that MTV and Comedy Central and HBO have given them just a partial story about what New Jersey is and what it's about to become again. Now, we cannot do this by ourselves. I can do as much as I can do and not finish the job myself. I need Democrats to work with me to finish the job. I need independents to work with me to finish the job. I need business leaders like you to care enough about the state and our future to want to help me finish the job. And so we've made great progress. And there can be no doubt that after where we have been, that the New Jersey comeback has begun. And you all can be part of it. Through your hard work, through your efforts, through your belief in each other and in the goodness and greatness of our state, you can make it happen. And so for me, this is the greatest job in the world. To be governor of the state where I was born and raised. There can be no greater gift you could give to someone in public life than to have the opportunity to lead the citizens that they have called their neighbors and friends for their entire lives. And so the last thing I'll thank you for tonight is that you have given me an enormous gift, a gift that I will tell you every day I treasure. I still have not lost the sense of wonder. When I pull up to the State House in Trenton and see that gold dome, and then walk in the door and see my name on the door, I shake my head. I say, how the hell did this happen? And the interesting thing is I go down the hall to the legislature and the Democrats are saying exactly the same thing. How the hell did this happen? So I want you to know I never lose that sense of wonder and the great sense of the gift that you've given me through your votes and through your support. And so I ask you to join with me as we return New Jersey to its previous greatness. I ask you to stand with me in making the hard decisions. I ask you to stand with me against the status quo. I ask you to stand with me to make sure that we meet the seminal test that every generation must meet. And that is, did we make this place better for our children and grandchildren than it was left to us by our parents and our grandparents? Because we will be judged. And when we are, what are we going to say? We're going to say that we buried our heads in the sand, that we assuaged ourselves with the creature comforts we've earned, and said the problems are too big and I am too small. Let someone else fix it. Or are we going to say at this time of great challenge and opportunity in our state's history that we will stand up together and do the right thing, tackle the big problems, and tell our people the truth? Because if we do that, then we can put our head on the pillow every night with great comfort in knowing that when it comes our time to hand over that torch to the next generation of New Jerseyans, we're going to be able to say, we did the best we could. Now it's your turn. If you want to be a part of that fight, I will fight with you. If you are willing to stand with me to do the big things this state needs, I will stand with you. New Jersey greatness is out there to be seized again, and I honestly believe in my heart that we will do it together. Thank you all very much. Great. Excellent. Thank you.